You know, in the crazy, high-stakes world of the NFL, blame is like a hot potato. And when things go south, nobody wants to be the one left holding it. Today, we're diving into one of those moments, a moment when the private power struggles of a front office just exploded out into a very public and, well, very awkward press conference. It's the question that keeps GMs, coaches, and owners up at night. I mean, when you pour millions of dollars and a high draft pick into a player who just doesn't pan out, who takes the fall? The answer is almost never simple. But for the Buffalo Bills, it got incredibly complicated, and it all happened with the cameras rolling. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're at what's supposed to be a pretty standard press conference. You know, the type, usually they're super controlled, full of carefully worded, kinda boring answers. But this one was about to go completely off the rails. So here's the setup. The head coach, Sean McDermott, is out. The general manager, Brandon Beane, gets a big promotion. So he and the owner, Terry Pegula, sit down to talk to the media. The air is already thick, right? And then a reporter asks the one question on everyone's mind. What's the deal with the big-time draft pick who's been struggling, receiver Keon Coleman? And this is where things get wild. Before Brandon Beane, the guy whose job it is to build the roster, can even open his mouth to answer, his boss, the owner, just jumps right in. He physically takes the microphone, and you can practically feel the entire room just freeze. And there it is, a total bombshell. The owner doesn't just answer the question, he completely flips the script. He says the coaching staff was the one pushing for the pick, and that his GM has been taking all this heat for no reason. Then he drops this line, "I'm here to tell you the true story." Wow, I mean, that sends a shockwave through the entire league, let alone the building. So let's really unpack what's happening here. Pegula isn't just defending his guy, he's publicly redirecting the blame. He's painting his GM as this loyal team player while pretty clearly pointing a finger at the coaching staff. Although, yeah, he did later try to walk it back and say he didn't mean the guy they just fired. It was a masterclass in front office politics, all playing out in real time. So the owner has just dropped this bomb. Can you imagine being Brandon Beane, the general manager, just sitting there? Your boss has basically told the world that you were overruled on a huge decision. What do you even do? I mean, what an impossible spot to be in. Beane has to do damage control, and he has to do it fast, live, in front of everyone. He's got to try and take back control of his own decisions without making his boss look bad. Talk about a tightrope walk. And this just lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you have the owner's version, hey, the coaches wanted him. But on the other, you have the GM trying to clean it up, saying, look, there were different opinions, but at the end of the day, I made the pick. He's trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, you know, but it's too late. Both stories are already out there. Okay, so with all this drama flying around the front office, it's kind of easy to forget that there's an actual human being, a player, right at the center of it all. So who is Keon Coleman, the guy whose performance kicked off this whole mess? This is him, Keon Coleman. He was an absolute star at Florida State, and he was taken with the 33rd overall pick. That's basically a late first-rounder, folks. For a player drafted that high, the expectations are just massive. But the reality on the field? Oof, it's been tough. This season, he was a healthy scratch, which means he wasn't hurt. The team just decided he wasn't good enough to even suit up for 4 games. For a pick that high, that's a huge, huge red flag. And his actual on-field production tells the exact same story. Just look at this breakdown. After the first game of the season, Coleman never had more than 50 receiving yards in a single game for the rest of the year. That is just not the kind of production you need from a guy you picked that early. And by the end of it all, this is where he landed. 6th on the wide receiver depth chart. Number 6. He went from being a prized draft pick to the 6th option. And that, right there, is why the front office is pointing fingers. So what does this all really mean? This one incredibly awkward moment reveals so much more than just one bad draft pick. It's giving us a rare peek behind the curtain at the power struggles inside a billion-dollar football franchise. You know, when you just lay it out step by step, the strategy seems pretty clear, doesn't it? First, you fire the coach. Second, you promote your GM. Third, you publicly go to bat for that GM. And fourth, you shift the blame for a bad decision onto the people who aren't in the building anymore. It feels like a very cold, very calculated power play. And that's really why this is such a fascinating story. This is so much bigger than one player who didn't work out. It's about loyalty, it's about power, and it's about how an organization chooses to handle its failures. And we almost never get to see these internal battles play out so publicly.
So it all comes down to this question. Was the owner just being transparent, trying to publicly defend his guy and set the record straight? Or did we all just get a front row seat to a private, messy power struggle that boiled over into the public eye? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But one thing's for sure, in Buffalo, the Game of Thrones isn't just happening on the field.